Have you ever stopped to think about how your life would change if you knew exactly how much time you have left? It sounds unsettling, but this question might hold the key to everything. Life often feels like a game where you only learn the rules after you've already started playing. But in this game, when you finally begin to understand, time is already running out. Does that seem fair? Maybe not, but it's what makes each moment so valuable. Life is a paradox. We know it's finite, yet we live as if it's infinite. We get stuck in routines, always waiting for the right time to be happy. The next weekend, the vacation, that promotion. We convince ourselves happiness is something in the future. But what if the future never comes? Are we ready to face the inevitable wall at the end of our journey? In this video, I want to invite you to think differently. Don't worry, this isn't a message about fear. It's about freedom. Together we'll explore how becoming aware of our mortality can unlock a life of extraordinary meaning. And by the end, we'll do a practical exercise to shift your perspective right now. Are you ready to join me? When I discovered this idea, my entire perspective shifted. I began to see life through new eyes and treasure the little moments I had overlooked. Today I want to share this insight with you. Not to scare you, but to empower you. Let's embark on this journey together and discover how death, instead of being an enemy, can become a wise guide. Life is fascinating. We know from a young age that it has an end, yet we spend most of it trying to ignore this truth. This denial isn't just cultural, it's biological. Our brains are wired to avoid thoughts of mortality. Studies in psychology, like those exploring terror management theory, reveal that awareness of our finite existence can trigger anxiety, leading us to distract ourselves with goals, routines, and fleeting pleasures. This is why we create mental alibis to escape the present. Social media, overworking, and the relentless pursuit of material success serve as coping mechanisms. Ironically, these distractions consume our most precious resource, time. Think about it. How often do you lose hours scrolling through your phone? According to Hootsuite, the average person in Brazil spends 5 hours a day on social media. That's a staggering 76 days per year. Imagine what you could accomplish with that time. Here lies the paradox. In trying to escape death, we forget to live. We cling to the illusion that happiness is always in the next milestone, the next promotion, vacation, or major achievement. Meanwhile, life slips by unnoticed. We're so focused on what's ahead that we lose sight of what's here. As Nietzsche once said, without music, life would be a mistake. Similarly, without an awareness of time, life becomes mechanical, devoid of depth. Existential philosophy teaches us that, while life may lack inherent meaning, we have the freedom to create our own. And perhaps the most meaningful thing we can create is an appreciation for the present moment. Science backs this up. Studies on mindfulness show that people who focus on the present are happier and more satisfied. By embracing the now, we find beauty in the small things, the warmth of a morning coffee, the sound of rain, a spontaneous smile. These seemingly insignificant moments, often overlooked, hold the power to transform our perception of time. Picture this, a sunset, its colors painting the sky. It's breathtaking. But instead of soaking it in, your mind drifts to tomorrow's tasks or lingering worries. You're physically there, but emotionally absent. The present becomes a photograph you save for later but never truly examine. In this way, time becomes a shadow, always there, yet unnoticed. The solution to this paradox is simple yet profound. Remember that time is finite. Not to scare yourself, but to cherish what you have. like the first sip of water after hours of thirst. Realizing the value of the present makes every moment more vivid and meaningful. At the end of life, people often look back and reevaluate everything. Bronnie Ware, a palliative care nurse, documented the top 5 regrets of dying patients. What she discovered was simple yet profound. Their biggest regrets weren't about work, wealth, or fame. Instead, they were about the things that truly matter: dreams, relationships, and happiness. The most common regret was not having the courage to live a life true to themselves, instead of one dictated by others' expectations. Many admitted to sacrificing their dreams for security that never truly came. The second regret was working too much, realizing they had traded irreplaceable moments with loved ones for hours at the office. Imagine reaching the end of your journey and realizing you missed the moments that could have mattered most. Another regret was not expressing feelings. Words left unsaid, whether of love, gratitude, or even forgiveness, left a void that couldn't be filled. Many also wished they had kept in touch with friends, realizing too late that meaningful connections are what make life rich. Finally, they regretted not allowing themselves to be happier, having been too focused on responsibilities or too afraid to take risks. Now think about it. If these are the regrets of those who have already reached the end, why not learn from them while there's still time? In a society obsessed with external achievements, money, success, status, we often neglect the simple, profound things that make life worth living. These regrets teach us a powerful lesson. Life isn't about accumulating things or titles. It's about moments and relationships. It's about looking back and feeling that you truly lived, that your choices reflected who you were. The secret isn't in having more, but in appreciating what you already have and creating memories that will make your journey worthwhile. Despite knowing that life is finite, we act as though we have all the time in the world. This happens because our brains have a remarkable ability to turn off awareness of the present. Daily routines, work, and constant distractions put us on autopilot. It's as if we're living without truly being alive. This isn't just an individual problem. It's a reflection of how modern society operates. Social media, for instance, is designed to keep us hooked. Every scroll, every notification releases a tiny hit of dopamine, the brain's pleasure chemical. This immediate reward system makes us spend hours on activities that, in reality, add no value to our lives. According to Hootsuite, the average Brazilian spends 5 hours a day on their phone. That adds up to 76 days a year, time that could be used for something meaningful. But the issue isn't just distractions. Many of us avoid the present because we fear facing reality. We dwell on the past or plan endlessly for the future, believing that happiness lies somewhere ahead. In the process, we overlook the only thing we truly have: the present moment. Existentialist philosophy warns about this trap. Jean-Paul Sartre argued that the freedom to choose is both a burden and a gift. While the weight of making meaningful choices can feel overwhelming, it's also what gives life its richness. The optimistic nihilist view builds on this idea, reminding us that, in the absence of inherent meaning, we can create our own by fully embracing the now. Picture this: a family dinner where everyone is physically present but glued to their phones. Conversations are sparse, and the moment feels hollow. This is a common scenario, and it perfectly illustrates how we often fail to live in the moment. We're physically there, but mentally elsewhere, trapped in distractions that prevent us from building meaningful memories. So, how do we reconnect with the present? The first step is awareness. Start noticing the simple moments, like the sound of the wind, the taste of your coffee, or the warmth of the sun on your skin. When you truly experience the present, you realize it's not just a stepping stone to the future. It's where life actually happens. It might sound strange, but death is one of life's greatest teachers. It doesn't teach us through words, but through its unavoidable presence. Knowing we have a limit forces us to reflect on how we're spending the time we have left. Instead of fearing or avoiding it, we can learn from it and use it as a guide for making meaningful choices. Science supports this idea. Terror management theory explains that when we become aware of our mortality, we tend to seek more meaning in life. People who have had near-death experiences often report profound shifts in their priorities. What once seemed important, like money or status, becomes trivial. Instead, they focus on relationships, personal growth, and experiences that feel authentic and fulfilling. Philosophy offers similar insights. Seneca, the Roman Stoic philosopher, famously said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." He believed that remembering death could help us live more intentionally. Nietzsche, on the other hand, saw finitude as a reason to embrace life fully. If nothing is eternal, then every moment gains immense value. Think of death as a wall at the end of a winding path. You can't climb over it, go around it, or avoid it. But you can decide how you walk the path leading up to it. Are you rushing through, distracted and detached? Or are you soaking in the sights, embracing challenges, and appreciating the journey? This perspective isn't about despair. It's about empowerment. Death reminds us that time is limited and that every choice matters. Imagine standing on a mountaintop, looking back at the trail you've walked. The beauty of the journey lies not in how far you traveled, but in the moments you stop to admire the view, to connect with others, and to truly live. Living with the awareness of death doesn't mean giving in to fear. It means using that awareness to prioritize what really matters. It's about making the most of the time we have, cherishing the little things, and crafting a life we can look back on with pride and peace. Remembering that life is finite is one thing, but how do we turn that awareness into meaningful action? It starts by seeing time for what it truly is, a finite resource. Picture your life as a grid of glowing dots, each representing a month. As Dino Ambrosio demonstrated in his TED Talk, the grid seems vast at first. But when you account for time spent sleeping, working, eating, and other routines, what's left is startlingly small. How are you using those remaining dots? A third of our lives is spent sleeping. Add to that time spent on work, commuting, and daily chores, and you begin to see how little is left for the things that matter most: relationships, passions, and personal growth. And even that precious time is often wasted on distractions. The question is, how can you reclaim it? The first step is mindfulness. Studies have shown that practicing mindfulness, being fully present in the moment, can significantly enhance happiness and satisfaction. Choose a simple daily activity, like eating a meal or taking a walk, and give it your full attention. Notice the flavors, the textures, the sights and sounds around you. These small acts of presence can transform the mundane into something extraordinary. The second step is prioritization. Ask yourself, if today were my last day, what would I regret not doing? Use this as a compass to guide your decisions. Often the answers lie not in extravagant plans, but in the simple joys of spending time with loved ones, pursuing hobbies, or appreciating life's quiet moments. Another key is nurturing relationships. Reach out to old friends, spend quality time with family, or simply have a heartfelt conversation. It's easy to postpone these moments, but they're the ones that truly define a life well lived. Remember, it's not the material achievements that people cherish at the end of their lives. It's the connections they've made, and the memories they've created. Lastly, embrace the present as a gift. Stop waiting for the next promotion, vacation, or milestone to feel happy. Happiness isn't something that happens later. It's something you can cultivate now. Work hard for your goals, but don't let them blind you to the beauty of the journey. A life worth living doesn't have to be grand or extraordinary. It's about the small, meaningful moments that add up to something beautiful. By being mindful, prioritizing what matters, and cherishing the present, you can turn each day into an opportunity to live fully. Because in the end, it's not about how much time you had. It's about what you did with it. Remember the question I asked at the beginning of this video? If today were your last day, what would you change? Now that we've explored the power of mortality, you might already have an answer. And perhaps you've realized that transformation doesn't require a complete overhaul. Often small but intentional changes are enough to make a life truly worth living. Death is often seen as an enemy, but it can also be a quiet ally. It reminds us that time is limited and that each moment carries weight. This awareness isn't something to fear. It's a gift that allows us to live with purpose. At the end of your journey, when you face the inevitable wall, what will matter most won't be your accomplishments or possessions. It will be the connections you've built, the memories you've cherished, and the way you chose to spend your time. I'd like to propose a simple yet powerful challenge. Pick one activity you usually do on autopilot, a meal, a walk, or even a conversation, and engage with it fully. Notice the flavors, the sensations, and the emotions it evokes. Give your complete attention to that moment. You'll find that even the simplest experiences can hold profound meaning when you're fully present. As we look back on life, the moments that stand out are the ones where we were truly alive. It's the warm embrace of a loved one, a shared laugh with friends, or the quiet satisfaction of creating something meaningful. These are the treasures we carry with us, the moments that give life its richness. When the time comes to face your final chapter, my hope is that you can look back with a smile, knowing that you lived fully and authentically, that you made choices that reflected who you are and embraced each moment with intention. Death isn't the opposite of life, it's a part of it. By embracing this truth, we gain the power to live more deeply, more consciously. And with that, I leave you with one last question. What will you do with the time you have left?